It's called Holy Resilience, the Bible's Traumatic Origins. The book tells a story about the origins of Judaism and Christianity as a story of survival of trauma. It really talks about how the Bible encapsulates communities' resilience as they've encountered various catastrophes along the way. And that, I think, is what distinguishes the Bible, both the Old and New Testaments, from a lot of the much more famous literatures that were around at the time. Because when the Bible was written, there were a lot more famous scriptures being written in Egypt or Mesopotamia or later Rome. And the Bible was being written in its little backwater in Israel and some cities in the Mediterranean. But those much more famous scriptures at the time are now largely faded away, studied by scholars and in various classrooms. But the Bible, Old and New Testaments, is the center of two world religions. And I think that has to do with the way the Bible emerged out of and speaks to trauma. Well, it functions in lots of unexpected ways. For example, I think one of the strangest things that often happens to people who undergo really deep suffering is they need to find a way to feel as if they have some power over it. And that often means that they need to find a way in which they somehow feel responsible for it. It doesn't make sense, but it's true. This is a widespread reaction to trauma. And the Bible provides a framework for people to interpret their experience. Sometimes this isn't ideal. Sometimes people blame themselves in really unproductive, hurtful ways. But the Bible also provides ways for people to react to their suffering by going deeper in their spirituality and letting different kinds of things that held them back go. And in that sense, I think the Bible encapsulates a way of resilient living that still speaks today. Initially, I picked the title because it played on Holy Scripture. But I think one of the distinctive things about the scriptures of Judaism and Christianity is the way they find a way to make survival of suffering a holy thing, a spiritual thing. Now, the risk of that, of course, is that you can start to celebrate suffering and even seek it out. And that sometimes has happened, particularly within Christianity. But to find a way where catastrophe and suffering is not just noise, but is actually the center of the spiritual life, that was a radical revolutionary thing. This whole enterprise took a different turn when I was riding on my bike on a beautiful autumn weekend, and it was my wife's and my 10th anniversary. And we were just riding with friends, and for reasons no one really understands, my bicycle broke apart beneath me at over 30 miles an hour, and I almost died in an accident. And I don't even actually recall the accident, but the process of recovering from that accident over months and even years afterward really gave me a new perspective on the effect of trauma on individuals and then also on communities. It gave me an appreciation for the ways in which you learn a lot about a person and their story by looking at what they don't say, what they don't remember, and not just at what they say. And so that took me back to the Bible that I'd studied for decades. And I was able to see the places where the Bible itself has gaps, where it swerves, where it can't talk about certain things. And I thought that might be crucial information for understanding what really made the Bible tick. As one of my friends said, you know, you can move deck chairs of the Titanic around, but you know, when it hits an iceberg, that's when things really change. I think that's often true for individuals and communities too, that the change that really counts is the change that comes in the midst of deep crisis. And as I went through my own crisis, I got a new sensitivity to the way the Bible itself was shaped by the crises that hit ancient Israel and the early church. One thing that I'm very impressed with the Bible is its honesty. The Bible is a text that never shies away from confronting God about what God has put the people through. It doesn't shy away from reflecting ways in which Israel was not a perfect people, nor were the disciples. It's a text that doesn't just celebrate triumph, but looks at people as they really are. And I think that sort of spirituality, more than anything else, has helped me as I've encountered my various struggles as a regular, everyday human being. Being able to sort of live with that and move forward, putting one foot in front of the other.